Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome or welcome back to another episode of the Overwatchathon, a series of videos where I go over every single character in, well, Overwatch. I'll be covering their lore and personality, their gameplay and abilities, as well as their design and cosmetics. However, before we get to today's topic of Lifeweaver, as per the video title and thumbnail, there's a little something I want to mention, and if you want to skip to Lifeweaver and me talking about his lore, there'll be a timestamp and a segment in the video. Timestamp in the description, and the segment, what is it even called? You know the segment thing with a little bar. You know what I'm on about. You can see it. You can jump to the point if you don't care about what I'm going to say. But as some of you may know, the other day, about 4 days ago now, I made a video on Juno. And in that video, I complained quite a bit about how Juno's story for the last, how many seasons has she been out? Seven seasons that she's been out, hasn't really been developed upon. It's a personal story, and I made a big point to say that due to how Overwatch is structured as a live service multiplayer game, it kind of struggles to develop these characters' personal stories without, without struggling. So Blizzard thought it was really, really funny that after I said all of that, they decide to drop a short story, 18 pages long, about Juno and her personal struggles and actually moving her personal plot forward. Blizzard thinks they're really funny by doing this. I'm sorry, it's actually been 7 seasons since she came out. If I hadn't have gotten ill and took 10 days off, and if I hadn't decided to do videos every other day, I would have talked about Juno's issues, story-wise, way before this comic came out. But because of all of those factors, I talk about those issues, and then 3 days later they release a comic. What? How does this even happen to me? Just for those that don't know, maybe haven't read it, it covers Juno's exploration or going to Lucheng Interstellar, who are the group that sent her parents off to Mars along with the rest of the Promised Red expedition. And in the comic we basically find out that they have no plans to send any help to Mars, so her parents are basically stranded there, and there's this assistant woman who gives a little note to Juno along with a toy that plays her mother's last message to her, saying that when the time comes she'll be there to help. So kind of ominous. And also I'm sure some of you saw that they also confirmed that Ramatra's invasion of the world, or Null Sector's invasion of the world, has come to a conclusion. That was really damn fast. I'm sorry, the entire point of Overwatch 2 was that we were going to be fighting, the invasion of Null Sector, and they just kind of ended it. I know from the, I believe it's Reconciliation, is that the name of the comic, with Ramatra and Zen? We know from that comic that Ramatra is moving into stage 2 of his plan, whatever the hell that means, and as a result, Null Sector has retreated in mass and taken probably millions of subjugated Omnics alongside him. I have no idea what that man is planning, and I have no idea why the invasions ended kind of so abruptly. Very, very abruptly. I mean, the Season 6 PvE missions came out like a year and a half ago now, maybe longer, and we hadn't had anything since then, and only recently have we just suddenly stopped the invasions, the thing that's kind of been dangling in the air for the last year and a half, and now we're moving forward with, personal character stories with this new Juno comic, and they're hyping up Season 20 a month in advance. What are we doing? Are we actually getting ready for something big? Is Overwatch actually going to be moving forward? Story-wise, do I actually need to, start dedicating my life to this game again? I'm really intrigued. I wanted to get that off my chest right now, but I'm really damn intrigued where they're going. We're advancing personal character stories again. We're advancing the main story again. Both have been sitting in the waiting room for like a year and a half now. And now they're hyping up Season 20, and Overwatch is going to be at BlizzCon, and they're bringing back Overwatch League for some reason. It's just, they're doing a lot of things. And in the dev blog for Season 19, they mentioned in Season 20, that we would be getting, in-game lore segments. A bit like how Deadlock has the sort of character bios in the corner that you can read to get the general gist of characters. That they're actually going to be putting character lore in-game for the players to read. There's a lot of focus on lore, a lot of focus on story. We're kind of pushing Overwatch a little bit more now, and we're hyping up the next season a month in advance. That's very unusual, considered for the fact that Season 19, the current one that we are in, was only really hyped up or teased or shown 2 days before it was meant to come out. Like, that's a hyperbole, but you get the idea. Like, they only ever really show the next season like a week in advance. They don't really ever talk about it until it's like right around the corner. But now we're hyping up season 20. We've still got over a month left till that comes around. Like, huh? What? Either way, I'm very intrigued where Overwatch is going, and I had to get the Juno thing off my chest because that really annoyed me. I released a Juno video, talk about her personal story, won't ever get developed, and then they develop it 3 days later. It's like they watched my video and were like, you know what, let's write up something real quick. Like, seriously, taking the piss. Anyways, if you listen to this little ramble, thank you. But with all of that said, let us now actually talk about the topic of today's video, which is none other than Lifeweaver. Now, as I like to do in all of these videos thus far, I'd like to start off by talking about Lifeweaver's background, story, backstory, whatever you wish to call it. And his backstory starts with his birth. Niran Pruksamani, I believe that's how you say that. If I mess up any names, I do apologize in advance. But Niran Pruksamani was the middle child of extremely wealthy parents with high expectations for their children. The Pruksmanis were a traditional Thai family, but from a young age, Niran resisted the structured life they had planned for him. He preferred wandering his compound's vast walled garden, mending plants alongside his family's gardeners. Likewise, he attended numerous botanical festivals. Even early on, he was too intelligent for the expensive schools his family could afford. He often completed assignments incorrectly, by solving problems more thoroughly than was necessary, or in new ways that hinted at his brilliant future. His parents, desperate to instill order in Niran, sent him to the prestigious Vishkar Architect Academy. Niran almost immediately developed a distaste for both the rigid and artificial beauty that Vishkar called perfection, and held the company itself in great contempt. He was often described as being distracted and prone to daydreaming, not knowing or caring about his study style. All of the other students shunned him, save one, his roommate Satya Vaswani, aka Symmetra. While they came from different backgrounds, Niran from wealth and Satya from poverty, they were both outsiders within the academy, and in that they had a bond. Within a few weeks they were inseparable friends, and while they rarely agreed on anything, they grew to respect each other a great deal. They shared a dorm with 2 other students, and Niran regularly stayed up late while Vaswani and the other 2 tried to sleep, studying or in late night conversation. And while this annoyed Vaswani, on the other hand, she was able to be covered by him when she wanted to avoid public speaking, and kept people at a distance for her. As Niran grew older, during breaks at school, he used his parents' wealth to travel and learn about his true passion, the natural world. In those journeys, he was struck by the turmoil that existed outside of his perfect bubble of wealth. All around the world, people needed help. Illness, injury, and many other ailments affected communities, a pain Niran grew determined to fix. Using the Academy's resources and his parents' influence, Niran set about on his own project, one that would help him heal the world. In his research, he discovered that the late founder of Vishkar, Dr. Vishwarma Bhatt, had hoped to provide his hard light freely to the world before Vishkar implemented more restrictions to the technology. Using this original design and his fascination with botany, Niran created BioLight, organic material that could heal terrible wounds in the blink of an eye. He showed his invention to Vaswani, and while his skill with the technology was in its early stages, she could still see the potential. Like Bhatt, Niran dreamed of gifting BioLight to the world. Vishkar disagreed, claiming ownership of the invention. They pointed out that Niran had developed BioLight on Vishkar's time and on Vishkar's property, and as such, BioLight belonged to the company. By this point, Niran had grown disgruntled with Vishkar, and it was only because of Bhatt's legacy that he'd stayed in the academy this long. But now that same legacy directed him to leave. Ignoring Vishkar's demands and Vaswani's advice, Niran fled the academy with his nascent technology. His parents cut him off from their wealth and pleaded for him to return, turn over his technology, and make peace with Vishkar. In response to his fleeing, Vishkar dispatched its lawyers and other more dangerous forces to hunt down Niran, demanding that he hand over his BioLight technology to them. Alone and hunted, Niran turned to Atlantic arcology, and despite the danger, Claudio and Hector Martins decided to take him in, who, for reference, are two people that were part of a climatologist group. They're like a set of climatologists who tried to help with the climate change affecting, I believe it's Portugal. They were also apparently part of Overwatch at some point, alongside Torbjorn to help with like armor help and stuff like that. I didn't even know they existed till this video, so you learn something new every day. Either way, Naran took on the name Lifeweaver, and free from the governing laws of any nation, he continued to stabilize and perfect his biolite, intending to use it to renew the world's connection with nature and help those in need. The scientific community backed his endeavors. Aware of the risks associated with biolite, Lifeweaver refused to sell the technology. 11 years after he'd left Vishkar and the day after Null Sector's attack on Paris, aka the one seen in the original trailer for Overwatch 2, Lifeweaver was reunited with Symmetra at the Atlantic Arcology. While Vishkar had informed the collective that they were sending a representative, they neglected to mention that it was Symmetra who was the one being sent. A surprise, but a welcome one, as Lifeweaver greeted his old friend. As they entered the Arcology proper, Symmetra explained that in light of Null Sector's attack, Vishkar had an opening to offer its services to rebuild Paris. They were interested in Lifeweaver's biolite technology as part of that project. Lifeweaver remained evasive and continued the tour before eventually arriving at the subject. He could sense that something was wrong and told Symmetra that she didn't owe Vishkar anything. That, however, opened the floodgate between the two of them, as Symmetra demanded to know why her friend had just up and left 11 years ago. She accused him of wanting to profit off of biolite, an accusation that caused Lifeweaver's demeanor to darken. As he pointed out, he was working at the collective, which, unlike Vishkar, was a not-for-profit organization. The two continued to exchange barbs, and Lifeweaver told Symmetra that despite her claims, he knew she was not as dedicated to Vishkar as she was trying to present herself as. He admitted when asked that he had no intentions of returning to Vishkar, and despite all this time and pleasantries, he had decided beforehand not to agree to Vishkar's proposal. He'd help in his own way, Paris or otherwise, but not with Vishkar. He admitted that if Vishkar had sent anyone other than Symmetra, he wouldn't have even bothered talking to them. But after 11 years, he wanted to show his old friend the home he'd made for himself. Symmetra had a train to catch, and Lifeweaver could tell, much to his disappointment, that Symmetra refused to be swayed. However, the moment was interrupted as a Hyperloop train arrived from London, only for panicked passengers to flee, and behind them, Null Sector warbots. The two fought together alongside the collective security forces, and they noticed a number of civilian Omnics that had strange devices on their head, rendering them inert. The Arcology was successfully defended, and through liaising with security, Lifeweaver learned that the Omnics that had infiltrated the transport hub had come from other cities under attack. As for the inert Omnics, the collective's scientists would look into helping them, those of course being the ones subjugated by, Null Sector. In the aftermath of the attack, the pair discussed Vaswani and her staying with Vishkar. Whatever Vishkar's flaws, she could still do good while working with them. She believed that she could make things better by working from the inside. Coming to terms with her decision, the pair worked together for the next few hours, as Lifeweaver used his biolite to heal the wounded. They reminisced on old times, but Vaswani eventually had to leave via helijet. Before she left, Lifeweaver told Vaswani to investigate Vishawakama Bhatt, stating that Vishkar had taken a different route from the one its founder had envisioned. He told her that if his suspicions were correct, the Arcology would be glad to have her. And that is, as of current, the end of Lifeweaver's story. It does end kind of oddly, but I do have something to add that the wiki does not have listed, and that is that at some point in time, per the recent comic with Ramatra and Zenyatta, we know that at some point, Lifeweaver has actually met Zenyatta. We know through, because there's like a little flashback where he's talking about, obviously, the peace that what humans can bring, blah, 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 and it shows him, Symmetra, and Lifeweaver all together, which, maybe there's something to explore there, but of course it hasn't been explored just yet. Now, I will admit, Lifeweaver's story is not something I'm particularly head over heels for. I think his story is relatively interesting. It is relatively decent, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. Lifeweaver's existence almost feels like a, what would you call it, companion piece to Symmetra's. Symmetra is a character who had quite a decent amount of lore, but was missing a lot kind of on a personal level. a lot of the time, at least in my experience from Overwatch 1, a lot of the time her interactions were just her defending Vishkar. We rarely ever got to see like Symmetra's actual personality, and Lifeweaver almost exists as a character to bring that out of her. He's a character that we didn't really know about from, obviously, any interactions in Overwatch 1, but his existence brings out, like, more personality from Symmetra, brings out sort of more of her character, and it kind of results in Lifeweaver himself falling short a little bit, because, again, it kind of feels like he is a companion piece to her, because obviously they both, went to the same school. However, I will give him props that his existence has opened up more doors in the kind of Vishkar Corporation. We now know a lot more about them. We know more of their shady dealings. The fact that they sent more dangerous people after him intrigues me greatly, because we do know that one of Vishkar's members, the white dude with the ginger hair, is actually part of Talon's board. Like, that's a member of Vishkar, I believe a high-ranking member, who is part of Talon as well. So Vishkar is not this kind of clean company that most would see it as, per obviously Lucio's admission as well. And Symmetra also herself admits that the company isn't as good as, they try to pretend themselves as. But Lifeweaver, again, personally, I just don't find him specifically interesting. I find the stories he's opened the doors to interesting. Though I will give him immense props for the invention of BioLite. I think it is a fascinating idea that someone has created a organic material that can replicate, like plant life and heal the wounded in the blink of an eye. I think there's a very interesting idea to add into Overwatch's world, and it expands, like the hard-like constructs idea that Symmetra proposed with, of course, like in gameplay, Symmetra's hard-like stuff is reduced to just like the teleporter and the turrets, and the idea of like creating, things. We know that hard-like can like create buildings and such, but they could never recreate like organic material, which is of course what Lifeweaver has been able to do. I think that's very interesting. But again, on a personal level, I don't think his story is very interesting. He's one of those characters that kind of play a bigger role and open the door to more other stories and the such. With Vishkar, obviously their shady dealings, the stuff with the BioLite, a further expansion of things. That's what he kind of exists as, alongside a further expansion of, Symmetra's more personal character, which of course I'm very fond of because, well, I like Symmetra. It took me a while to warm up to her, but I think the second they confirmed that, oh yeah, by the way, she's autistic, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. She's just like me. And then I started reading her lore and I was like, wait a minute, she's just like me. Wait, hold on a second. Like, I like Symmetra a lot. So Lifeweaver existing is just kind of a win-win for me because it equals into more Symmetra stuff. And I like Symmetra. So, and admittedly, reading how he struggled fitting in with his family and not kind of adjusting to their very like traditional lifestyle does intrigue me. The way they describe him as like kind of solving problems in different ways or more thoroughly than necessary kind of weirdly reminds me of myself. So maybe Lifeweaver is autistic? Maybe? That's never been confirmed and there's no, like hints at that. But the fact that, he's like best buddies with Symmetra and they complement each other and they were like the only person, them two were like the only two that had each other. Like Symmetra didn't have any friends outside of Lifeweaver and vice versa. I think that is quite interesting. There is a weird thing where autistic people tend to kind of attract other autistic people, like literally by like some sort of seventh sense or something. Like most of the friends that I've had have been on the spectrum in some way, shape or form. Whether that was confirmed or not at a later date, who knows? But yeah, I think it's interesting. I like Lifeweaver, and personality-wise, I'm also very fond of him. I think personality-wise, he is very entertaining. He is very outwardly spoken, very flamboyant. I guess that's the word I could use. He's very sociable as well. A lot of his interactions, he's like speaking to people quite kindly, a lot of the time flirting with them as well. I like his interactions, especially like, say for example, the one with Baptiste, where he says that he has tickets to, was it like a cafe or a restaurant or something? And then Baptiste and the two of them, I'll leave a link to the interactions in the description. You can obviously see the Baptiste one yourself, but I like that the two of them flirt. And speaking of, flirting, sexualities, blah, 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 Lifeweaver is pansexual. which is another reason why I like him quite a lot, because here's a fun fact for those that didn't know, I'm pansexual as well. So we have a character that's implemented into the game that I can see a lot of myself I can see a lot of autistic traits in, and they're pansexual. Like, come on. Come on. We're just kind of designing a character that almost is designed to appeal to me. Like, I don't really talk about my sexuality very often. If anyone's wondering why I'm pansexual, I don't feel like I have to explain that, but everyone's hot. I'm going to be so for real. Everyone is so hot. Men, women, non-binary, etc., etc. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am the woker and I love diversity. But yeah, Lifeweaver, story-wise, is interesting because he opens a lot of doors, though personally I don't find him as interesting as other characters. On a personal level, I mean. Like, in the grand scheme of things, he's really interesting. BioLite, Vishkar, and etc. But on a personal level, I don't find him too interesting. Maybe that's because I can't particularly relate to him outside of, the few autistic traits that I mentioned. But either way, I think he is actually... I'm sure other people may relate to him, and if you do, more power to you. Makes him even more interesting in my opinion, that people from different walks of life may be more interested in different aspects of him. But yeah, I like Lifeweaver. I like his personality as well. I wish he flirted with me, but that's besides the point. Anyways, let's move on to the topic of the thumbnail and the title. You probably noticed that I've titled the video something along the lines of a character just short of perfection or something like that. Something cheesy, something a bit over the top. And that's because we need to talk about his gameplay and his abilities. And for this section, I'll be using OBS to talk about his gameplay and abilities. So please do keep in mind I may sound a little different. If I do, I apologize. Otherwise, let's talk about his gameplay abilities. The one thing that holds him back from being perfect. Right, so here we are in the ever so lovely and ever so helpful training range to talk about Lifeweaver's gameplay. And as always, seeing as he doesn't have a special passive that I need to discuss, I'd like to start by talking about his main weapon, which is split into two halves, that being the Healing Blossom and the Thorn Volley. Now the Healing Blossom is a charged up projectile that when released will fly towards a target and heal them. Relatively self-explanatory. However, its charge is kind of a unique little thing. Like, just as a show of example, in the middle of my screen you can see the number 80 with a little kind of set of lines underneath it. That is to show that the Healing Blossom, which is the flower, is at full charge. So when I just simply click, it will release and do, 80 healing. But as you can see, over time, it will slowly charge up back up to 80. Now if I hold my left click, I'll charge it up quicker and be able to release it quicker. But you can just kind of, spam it to do 10 healing, which is utterly worthless and utterly pointless. It also has, it will travel immediately. You just have to look at a person and it will immediately travel to them. Not too different to, say, like Kiriko's form of healing. The only difference is, obviously, you don't have to keep the track on the person. Like, once you release it, it will just immediately go to them, even if you say, like, look away. Or, for some example, go around the corner. And it also has, how long is its range, actually? I'm not sure. It has a range of 30 meters, heals over time. It does... Why does it heal over time? Why is it not just instant? Curious. Either way, 10 at minimum charge, 80 at maximum charge, healing-wise. It takes 0.3 seconds to heal over time, which seems a bit redundant. I'm not sure why that even exists. It should just be instant healing, really. Its range is 30 meters. It takes 1.2 seconds to charge, and 5.2 seconds to auto-charge to full. Now, this is where a lot of my problems with Lifeweaver immediately become relevant. 80 healing is a decent amount. That is the same, I believe that's the same amount as Juno, if she is in the correct range. I presume I'm not wrong. 72, right. So kind of close, kinda. Now, the issues I have with Lifeweaver is that 80 healing that takes 1.2 seconds to charge up isn't really that good, if I can be completely honest. That's not really that good healing. Like, you can notice there is a gap between, like, you can feel the charge up duration, if you understand what I mean. You can feel that 1 second gap between, like, charging up the flowers. Like, and the thing is, right, I'll discuss, like, discussing his Thorn Volley. It does 12 damage per volley, 2 shots per, damage per volley 12, 2 shots per volley 2. Either way, it's a kind of, like, you shoot a bunch of little thorns out, And they do, you know, pretty decent damage, all things considered. But clearly, the idea with Lifeweaver, especially considering that his thingy heals or passively charges up over time, the idea that they are clearly trying to push forward is that you swap between the two modes. So you like, you know, you shoot a bit, heal a teammate, go back to shooting, you know, heal a teammate, da-da-da. However, his healing is low to the point that you don't ever get the chance to do damage. You are basically forced to heal bot, because if you stop healing for even like a second, someone will die. Lifeweaver does not do enough healing output with his weapon alone, because his weapon really is the only thing that can heal on a consistent basis. If I remember rightly, the pull does heal. Yeah, it does 75 healing, but the pull is on a 18-second cooldown. That's not consistent healing. Let's be completely honest. So the only way he has to heal is the Healing Blossom, which does 80 heal, or 80 healing, but that's every 1.2 seconds if you're manually charging it. And it's 5.2 seconds if you let it charge over time. That's not enough healing to where you can have a break and like fight. It's not like Kiriko, where she can obviously do the 130 healing, which is obviously 50 more than Lifeweaver, but still, you know, like heal someone, then throw a few kunais, heal someone, throw a few kunais. Like, they clearly want you to do that similar thing with Lifeweaver, but he doesn't do enough healing to get that opportunity. So you are forced to just almost always be healing. Like, there is not a point where you can stop. Because say, for example, your other support, let's look at the support lineup. Say one of your other supports is a quote-unquote off support. So someone like, I don't know, Lucio, someone like Wu Yang. I know Wu Yang can do a lot of damn healing, but he is technically an off support considering his toolkit. Someone like Zenyatta. If you have someone like that on your team, you can't ever take a break. You have to be healing all the time, or else your team will just simply die. They want you to swap between the two modes because, you know, he does really good damage. Like, if he's allowed to do damage, he can do some really good damage. Like, even if I just do like body shots, this is respectable DPS, especially for a support. But you never get a chance to do that DPS because you have to be healing all the time, because his healing output isn't enough to sustain the team. Like, just again, I feel like Kiriko is a good example because she does 130 healing over a period of 0.9 seconds. She does more healing in a shorter time frame. Of course, she does have travel time, but she is an example of how you can do the swap between the two. You can heal someone and then throw a few kunais, because she does enough healing with her volleys or her Afuda to justify being able to throw in a few kunais. But Lifeweaver doesn't. He does 80 healing, and that takes 1.2 seconds to charge, and that also has travel time. It's just blatantly worse. It's just worse healing. His DPS is kind of better, maybe, if he's allowed to DPS. That's the thing, though. I can't say his DPS is better, because he's never allowed to DPS, because he cannot, for half a second, at least in my experience of playing Overwatch, stop healing. Because if he stops, someone dies. Like, it's just as simple as that. If he stops healing for even a damn second, someone probably will die. Especially if your other support is someone like one of the worst team comps in the game is Lifeweaver Mercy. Everyone has complained to hell and back about it because all they do is healing. Like, Lifeweaver, all things considered, doesn't have much utility in his kit. Both of his abilities are, you know, they do have utility, but they're very situational utility. They're not just generally good. It's not like, you know, Anna's Biotic Grenade, which is obviously always a good example, where that will have utility no matter how you string it. It will always be able to give extra healing to allies if thrown at them. It will always be able to apply anti-heal to enemies if thrown at them. Lifeweaver's healing is situational. It depends on your team. It depends on what your team is doing. Sometimes you will not use one of his abilities for like an entire round if things go well. Like, and his healing is just too low. I'm gonna be so honest. His perks do kind of help with it. Like, I'll get to his perks when we get to him, but like one of his perks, life weaving, really does help him, like really badly. But as a base, like ignoring the perks, he does not do enough healing. When he came out, right, he did even less, and he was. This is an arguable thing. It depends on how you look at it, but in my opinion, Release Lifeweaver was the worst character this game has ever released. And I don't mean worst as in like, you know, Brig level worse, as in she was really, really, really damn strong, kind of toxic, da-da-da. Lifeweaver was actually awful. He was worthless. There was no point in playing as him at all. You had to press a button to swap between your two weapons, akin to Mercy. You had to, like, he didn't have passive charging at all. He did like 75 healing, like no healing. The charge time was 2 seconds. His damage was pathetic. Like, he was awful. The only thing he had to his name was the life grip, and that was it. His ultimate barely even did any healing either. Like, he was awful. Like, there was, I very rarely say this, but there was zero reasons to use Lifeweaver when he came out. And it was really upsetting. It was so upsetting that a character could be released in such a state. It was actually appalling that someone could be released in such a state. Thankfully, he has received many, many buffs. I don't think this character has been nerfed at all in the existence of his like time in being in Overwatch, which I think is crazy. I someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he is like the only character to never receive a nerf, which that says a lot. And most of it has to do with his healing. His healing, I still think he needs buffs. I still think he's not good enough. I still think his healing is still just not good enough at a base. Like once he gets his first perk, yeah, things get better, but man, that work towards your first perk feels horrendous. Anyways, moving on from his relatively lackluster healing, we have his rejuvenating dash. Yes, I'm going to talk about this one first because I think this is a really good ability. This is probably the highlight from him, actually. I really like this ability. You dash towards your traveling direction and you lightly heal yourself. You get 45 healing to yourself, and you get a 525% move speed bonus for 0.3 seconds. It's funny how they describe things like that. Either way, if you jump and press space again, you'll dash in whatever direction you're moving and receive a small burst of healing. This ability is on a, 5-second cooldown? Yeah, 5-second cooldown. This is a really good ability, like really, really good. I am very fond of this. Was my favorite ability in his kit, honestly, because it's just extra movement. It gives you a bit of self-healing, which allows him to sustain himself in fights. It's just generally quite useful, and it makes you kind of harder to hit as well. Like, it's a very simple ability. It's not too different from like a Tracer Blink, but I don't know. This ability has always kind of been it kind of scratches an itch in my brain that I can't really explain. I think it's the self-healing. I really like the self-healing on it because, you know, supports have a tendency to, you know, take a few hits now and then. And most of them, it's like, if we go to the support lineup, the majority of them either can't heal themselves or have abilities that are on relatively, like Anna can't heal herself, right? But she can use the biotic grenade on herself, but that's on a 14-second cooldown. Baptiste cannot heal himself with his normal abilities, but he can use the regenerative burst. But again, 14-second cooldown. Juno can't heal herself. Irari can. Kiriko can through Suzu. Again, cooldown. Lucio, well, yeah, he heals everyone that's near him. Mercy kind of heals herself? Yeah, because if she heals allies, she heals herself. So yeah, she can. Moira can with her orbs. Wu Yang can only heal himself, again, with his Guardian Wave. And Zenyatta can't. So Lifeweaver's the only one who can really, like, consistently heal himself. Outside of Lucio, and I guess outside of Mercy. But then again, Mercy can't heal herself if there isn't someone to heal. So even then, hers is reliant on an ally. These two are the only ones who can just consistently heal themselves every now and then. Because again, 5-second cooldown. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And of course, due to him being a support, he'll begin to regenerate health more quickly, which makes him surprisingly hard to kill, especially in addition to his other abilities, such as the Petal Platform, where you throw a platform that springs upwards when stepped on, and it resets when not in use. The platform has 300 health, it has 12 seconds in use, and it is unlimited when not in use. So if you just put it on the floor, it will stay there forever, but it can only have 12 seconds in the air. It lifts you 9 meters in the air, and it goes up by 10 meters per second. So it takes under a second to get into the air. Either way, to show what that actually looks like, if I press left shift, you put a petal on the floor, and if you set up onto it, you get lifted up into the air. Relatively simplistic to understand. Now by technicality, this is utility. However, as I mentioned earlier, this is situational utility. you yourself as Lifeweaver can use it to get, obviously, the high ground. It's useful for that sort of stuff. Put yourself in better positions, heal people from above, kind of put you in a safe position. And, of course, due to how it is as a platform, you can kind of block damage from a certain angles. Like, obviously, if they're right underneath you, they can't hit you. Like, if I remember rightly, not even, like, Ramatra can actually punch through it, which I think is quite interesting. It is worth noting, if you press shift again, it will destroy the platform. I feel like they should have mentioned that in the ability description. Yeah, they don't mention that. But although it's useful for you, so it's always going to have some form of utility for yourself, when it comes to utility for the team, it is teammate dependent. Because someone, say, like Reaper, won't really benefit from it. I mean, everyone can benefit kinda, because obviously it allows them to get to high ground. But most characters have some form or way to get to high ground. Like, again, Reaper, for example, has his teleport. Someone like Genji won't really benefit from it because he can wall climb, Hanzo included. And say someone like Freya, someone who can just, fly. Or someone like Pharah, who also can just fly. Most of these characters have a way to get to high ground. And for those that don't, that's where it really shines. Or just characters who enjoy the high ground. Someone like Ashe, or most of the hit scan characters, like the Petal. So Widowmaker, for example, although she has her own ways to get to high ground, if you, say, if she gets to high ground and then you give her a Petal, then she's on even higher ground. So she likes Lifeweaver's Petal. Same goes for Soldier, or Ashe, or Cass, these characters that kind of benefit from being higher up, like the Petal. But most tanks don't really benefit from it, all things considered, outside of those without movement abilities. Like Roadhog can be kind of nasty with the Lifeweaver Petal, because it puts him in positions that he shouldn't be in otherwise. So, like, it has utility. It just kind of depends on how your team, or what your team consists of. And more importantly, it's a very kind of communicative ability, as in you kind of have to tell your teammates that the platform is there. They have to actually actively step on it. Like, there are times where I put a platform in a, advantageous position, but then no one steps on it. And the thing is, enemies can also step on it. So you can, I know you can obviously just press like shift to get rid of it, but you can accidentally put enemies in, advantageous positions. And you can, interestingly, use it to counter abilities. Like, the best example I have is Orisa. If you put the platform underneath an enemy Orisa that's ulting, it brings her upwards, and then the ult doesn't actually hit anyone outside of the platform, which is, a unique kind of cool way to use that ability. You can also use it on, say, like a Diva Bomb. You can lift it upwards to be, out of range of your allies. Though do be careful in that scenario, because sometimes it actually can result in it having a wider damage range and actually end up hitting more people. But you kind of get the idea. You can kind of lift like dangerous things away from yourself or enemies. But otherwise, it is kind of a situational ability. It depends on what map you're on, who you're working with, whether you can communicate to your team that the platform's there, whether they even actually decide to use it. Like, its use cases are proactive. They have to be actively done to get the value out of it. Otherwise, it is just kind of a solo ability that helps you, find better positions to heal people or deal damage from, right? But it's still a fine enough ability. I've got no qualms with it, really, outside of it, being kind of a bit more proactive. But anyways, speaking of his final ability, we have Life Grip, where you pull an ally to your location, protecting them as they travel. It has a range of 30 meters, it heals for 75 healing, and the pull speed is 30 meters per second, so it takes 1 second for them to get to you. When you pull them, they are invulnerable, and the Life Grip also ignores barriers, so if, say, a enemy is in a Winston bubble, you can still pull them out of it. The idea for this ability is very clear. You are meant to pull allies who may have dove too far in, pushed too far forward, backwards to you, or, say, pull an enemy out of a sticky situation. So, again, let's use the Diva Bomb example. Say there's an ally that's, in range of a Diva Bomb and you're out of its range, you can pull them to you to, pull them out of that sticky situation where they would have died otherwise. And just to show, of course, what it looks like, you can see the targeting reticle. I press E and I'll pull the person towards me. Simple as that, really. And there are many ways to use this. You can use it in an offensive manner. An instance that I had is where I created a petal, flew up to it, and then used the pull on an Ashe Bob and then pulled Bob onto this platform, which gives him obviously this high ground which he's able to shoot from, which makes Bob even more threatening. Like, you can use it in offensive manners. I've seen clips on TikTok and the such where people like slingshot. Like, there's a kind of a tech that you can do where you slingshot an ally upwards by kind of jumping off your platform and pulling them directly upwards. I saw that clip with like a Reinhardt. Someone slingshot Reinhardt into the sky and he just earth-shattered from the highest top bar I've ever seen. There are interesting ways to use this ability, but in most cases, you will usually, like, a good example, see an or ally on critical health, maybe they're too far forward, maybe there's people jumping them, and you just pull them towards you. Simple as that, really. But of course there are, as I said, techs that you can do with it. You can kind of slingshot people towards enemies, you can slingshot people upwards using the petal. Because the thing is with the petal, I feel like I should have mentioned, is that if you jump as it kind of reaches its max height, I did that very, very poorly actually. You can kind of like get an extra boost in like height. I don't know why I'm struggling so much to do it. Like, there you go. You kind of like, you can give yourself a kind of extra jump boost if you jump at its max height. And that can allow you to help with the slingshot and the such. But pull has some interesting uses, but in most cases you will just kind of pull ally out of like a hairy situation, or sometimes you might even pull someone out of spawn to get them into the fight easier, quicker, etc, etc. Which, I mean, again, this has utility, but as I said, it's very situational. It kind of depends on what's happening in the game. For you can't just kind of use the pull willy-nilly. You have to use it correctly. You have to be aware of what your teams are doing. Like, if you see a Reinhardt kind of charging headfirst into the enemies, you might not want to pull them immediately, because what if your pull prevents him from getting a kill on someone that he may have pinned? What if your pull is too early, too late? Like, you kind of have to think about these things. Like, a lot of tanks will get really angry. Doomfists will usually get very angry with you for pulling them. That most of the time is due to their egos, but that's besides the point. You just kind of want to use pull when you see fit. And you do, again, he's a character that kind of wants to communicate with the team, like verbally a lot of the time. So say, for example, your Doomfist charges in. If you're playing without, say, comms or text chat, he might not be able to tell you that he wants the pull. But of course, if you're playing comms, then he'll be able to tell you when or if he wants it. It's kind of a thing where you have to rely on what your teammates tell you before you use it to really get the most value out of it. But either way, it is kind of, it's not a get out of jail free card because it pulls you to, or pulls the ally to your location. So although they'll, you know, be invulnerable for the duration, they'll get some healing, they still can see you pulling them. Like when I press E on this ally, they'll see the pink line and where it's going, so they can still follow up. It's not like a easy win, right? But it's still a fine enough, decent enough ability. And to end it all off, we have his ultimate, which, by the way, has a very small cost. 2,200 is... I don't think that's the smallest, if I'm not tripping. I think Zenyatta also has... Yeah, no, his is 2,500. Who is like a... I'm trying to think. Who is like a really short ult cost? Reinhardt always feels like he has a really short ult cost. Yeah, 1,800. His one's very short. Is there anyone else that really has like a stupidly short ult cost? 1,850? Sigma? Who's always felt like they had a short ult cost? Doomfist usually feels like he does. 1,900. He's a very short... I think Symmetra? The wrong person. Lifeweaver, I believe, has the shortest ult cooldown of the support lineup. And, of course, as I'm sure many of you already know, but still, you place a tree that instantly heals all allies upon sprouting and then continues to heal periodically as it lives. It does 150 healing initially. It does 90 healing every pulse. If they are at full health, you get 50% of the healing converted to overhealth with a max of 100 overhealth. There is a pulse rate of 1.8 seconds, so basically every 2 seconds it shoots out the pulse. The tree is a construct, so it does have, you know, a health bar, which is 1,200. Its radius is 12 meters, it lasts for 15 seconds, which is quite long, and the overhealth will decay after 6 seconds. Now, of course, to show what this looks like, you press Q and you get the kind of silhouette of the tree, and you can kind of look around, place it wherever you wish, and once you build it, it does the burst of healing and then will pulse out extra healing in intervals. It is blocked by line of sight, I must mention, as you can quite clearly see here. The robots on the other side are not receiving any healing because blocked by line of sight. and then eventually it goes away. This ult is fine. It's a fine enough ult. I mostly personally use it for the initial pulse, because it's kind of like I would say it's a very reactive ultimate. Some support ultimates are like that. Like, say, for example, Kiriko. I like using her as an example because our ultimate is quite clearly meant to be used as a push tool. You use it, you push forward with the actual ultimate and, fight alongside it, get all the buffs, blah, blah, blah. You can use it reactively, but it is weaker in those scenarios. Whereas Lifeweavers shouldn't be used for a push, but more a reactive thing. Say there are multiple allies that are on critical, pop the ult, they all get the burst of healing, they'll receive the consistent healing alongside, your actual normal healing. So it makes it easier. It's like a miniature Zenyatta ult almost, kinda, where you kind of just want to use it in response to, say, a push from the enemy team or when multiple allies are on critical. Do keep in mind, though, of course, the tree can be destroyed. The easiest way it can be destroyed is usually Roadhog. Roadhog's ult destroys the tree, like, instantly. And that's the thing, right? His ult just kind of feels like a weaker Zenyatta ult. I know it lasts for, like, double the duration, but it kind of serves a similar purpose, where you use it to protect your team and provide consistent healing. But the thing is, it can be destroyed, so the enemies can just target it and remove that healing source. And usually that is what you should do, because obviously if they're being healed by Lifeweaver normally on top of the healing from the tree, it does become quite hard to kill the enemies. So usually they will focus the tree, and usually it will die before the whole 15 seconds is up. But that's not to say this isn't a good ult. It's a big, it's a big healing burst on top of, consistent healing over time. And 15 seconds is quite a long time, all things considered. If it manages to last that whole duration, the amount of healing it outputs is, really high. But again, it kind of just feels a bit lackluster when compared to other support ults. And it feels like a weird mishmash of other support ults. Like, it's, I don't know. His kit in general just feels a bit weak. It just feels a little lacking on a fundamental level. They can buff it all they like, but I feel like fundamentally, Lifeweaver feels a little flawed. Like, his healing has the weird charge up time, and there's gaps where you're just not being healed at all by Lifeweaver. And although 1.2 seconds doesn't sound like very long, it can certainly feel it. They want you to swap between the two of these, but you don't really get the opportunity because his healing isn't enough. Like, the battle platform is situational, it depends on how your team is playing, whether they actually use it or not, but otherwise it's pretty okay for you to get the high ground. Life Grip, again, situational. This is a generally just good ability, so no qualms there. And his ultimate is a responsive tool, but it doesn't feel strong enough to be a responsive tool. Like, Zenyatta's is a responsive tool as well. Like, you use it when, your team is on critical or you get dove. But it lasts for 6 seconds and provides 400 healing a second. Like, your team is immortal for 6 seconds compared to, additional healing. By the way, you can still die. It's quite easy to just die even when the tree is up. Like, it's good for the initial pulse, but if I were to change it, I would propose the idea of increasing the initial pulse and increasing the amount of healing it does over time. Maybe like the initial pulse is 200 and the normal pulse is 120. I feel like that would make the ult feel a bit more prevalent, and maybe, because the thing is, you can just kill people through the tree's healing, which I feel like shouldn't be the case when we're talking about an ultimate ability, something that, you might use once or twice a round. I do feel like the enemy team should be forced to get rid of the tree. They should be prioritized to get rid of the tree instead of just, killing people through it. But yeah, his kit just feels kind of lackluster. It feels like there's something missing. Even now, after all of the buffs he's received, like, thankfully his perks, which I'm now going to talk about, do kind of fill in some holes in his kit. So the first of which being Cleansing Grasp, where Life Grip can cleanse negative effects, and cleansing a negative effect reduces Life Grip's cooldown by 4 seconds. This makes him one of the very few people that can cleanse negative status effects. Someone rightfully did point out that Zarya can as well. I did make a big deal about Kiriko Suzu cleansing effects. I always forget that Zarya can cleanse, always. But Zarya can cleanse, Kiriko can cleanse, and now with this perk, Lifeweaver can cleanse. However, this cleanse is much weaker because, first of all, you have to use the Life Grip on someone, which, I know it says cleansing an effect reduces the cooldown by 4 seconds, but that still makes the cooldown 14 seconds, which is not particularly great. And I don't know, the instances where you use, like, this is only really useful if they have like an Ana on the team. Again, this is a situational perk to pick. If they have an Ana on the team or a Junker Queen on the team, like say multiple characters who have negative status effects, yeah, sure, pick this. But the other perk I just think is better, which is Life Weaving, and I mentioned it earlier. Rejuvenating Dash adds 30 healing to your next healing bottom within 3 seconds. This fixes a lot of the kind of issues I have with Lifeweaver's healing. Because remember, Rejuvenating Dash is on a 5-second cooldown. That's not a very long cooldown, all things considered. And adding extra 30 makes his healing 110, which makes him feel like a competent healer. That extra healing really does feel quite noticeable, especially when, say, for example, you're not able to make it to full charge, but instead you just dash and you get extra healing on top of it. Like, just generally, I think this perk is more consistently useful, even if the enemy team, has, say, Ana, Ashe, characters who have these negative status effects. I would still honestly pick this, because it's just more healing. It will always be useful. And Rejuvenating Dash is on a 5-second cooldown. So for every 3 dashes, you're getting, an extra 30 healing to them. Whereas every 18 seconds you get to use this. Like, I don't know. This feels more consistently useful, and it increases his overall healing output, which is something that he does struggle with, as I've, gone into depth and mentioned. But then moving to his major perks, we have Petal Power, which makes it so that allies on the Petal platform, when raised, get a extra 30% attack speed. This is okay. It's I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to like further emphasize or kind of make it more enticing to stand on the Petal platform. But as I mentioned when I was breaking down the Petal platform, it does rely on your teammates to actually initiate this. Like, it's not useful for Lifeweaver. Well, it is kind of, because you get the attack speed which applies to your healing. So you actually can increase your own healing output when standing on the platform. But the idea obviously is to get, say, I don't know, Soldier 76 or Ashe to stand on your platform to benefit from, faster fire rate. But again, it kind of relies on your allies to actually do that. It's a fine perk for you specifically, but it still kind of relies on your allies, which again, I said is kind of a weakness of the Petal platform. But the other perk is known as Super Bloom, where Thorns will detonate for an extra 40 damage when enough stick within 2.5 seconds. Again, they're trying to emphasize or entice people to swap between healing and damaging. Thankfully, with the Rejuvenating Dash perk, you are able to do that a little bit more often, but still not enough to where I think Super Bloom is a viable perk. I don't think it's enough Thorns, like just to show obviously what it looks like. It's enough Thorns kind of stuck within 2.5 seconds. You can see like it explodes after what? How many bullets is that? After 20 bullets are stuck into one enemy, then they'll explode. And it's like, that's fine, but it kind of, again, it's trying to incentivize you to swap between the two. But as I said, his healing output isn't enough to justify that. So this perk, again, doesn't really feel justifiable to pick. Both of his majors kind of are quite awkward and kind of not good enough. I do hope, say, maybe next season or maybe with mid-season that these get buffed or changed in some way. Because I think his minors are great, but the majors are kind of, they're just kind of whatever. They don't really help him. But yeah, in general, I do think Lifeweaver's kit is fun to play as. I enjoy playing as Lifeweaver, but I just don't think he's strong enough. A friend of mine always complains whenever I pick Lifeweaver. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Oh great, no healing for this match, huh?" Like, thanks. I just want to play Lifeweaver, man. Well, not man, they them, but you get the idea. It's just, I don't know, his kit just feels a bit lackluster, a little bit weak. I feel like he still needs some form of buffs. He still feels not good enough. I don't know if that's just me, but like looking amongst the support roster, he is kind of one of the weaker ones. Like, I know Juno kind of got nerfed a bunch, so she's kind of in the dumps right now, and Zen, I mean, some of the strongest characters in the game right now are Tracer, Hammond, Genji, etc. All of these divers, Zen, he just can't. He can't exist against a comp or a team or a meta right now where divers are so strong. So he just sucks right now. But Lifeweaver and Juno, they kind of fall in the same place where it feels like their healing isn't enough, and the utility they provide is better provided through other characters. I mean, at least with Juno, right? The utility she provides is provided by Lucio, who is a better support. But Lifeweaver's utility is unique to him. I will give him that. He has unique utility that, no other support has. but that utility just isn't really good enough to justify playing as him over someone else, which kind of sucks, because I do like him, and I wish he was better in the gameplay front. That's what I mean by this video being titled, or the thumbnail having the words almost perfect. Like, if his gameplay was better and he was more competent, I would love him, just across the board. I think he would be fantastic. But his gameplay isn't good enough, so he kind of falls short. Not to say I don't like him, though. I do enjoy playing as him. But anyways, with all of that said, I don't know what happened to my voice. I swallowed weirdly and now I sound weird. There we go, sound more normal. I would like to now move on to talking about his design and his cosmetics. Now, when it comes to Lifeweaver's base design, I think it is absolutely fantastic. I think Lifeweaver's design is unbelievably fantastic. And I'm going to say this as someone who completely misses and or doesn't understand a lot of the cultural references / significance in his outfit. Per the develop blog, when they talked about Lifeweaver back when he came out, they said that they kind of wanted to create a character for Thai people. They wanted to create a character that was well and truly Thai and embrace that culture in mass. Now, as a white Englishman, I know next to nothing about Thai culture, but what I can say is that it looks damn good on Lifeweaver. I'm going to be so real with you. I love his outfit. I'm obviously going to presume a lot here, but I believe most of his lower half is inspired by, I think it's like a unisex piece of clothing that a lot of Thai people wear, which I think it looks really, really lovely. He's barefoot with these weird, I don't even know what these are. These are kind of like robotic sandal. I don't even know why he has, I actually have no idea what's going on his feet. But either way, he's mostly barefooted. His kind of upper half has, well, his chest, okay, this is a thing that's interesting about Lifeweaver. He's quite clearly meant to be very attractive and have this kind of like sexual presence to him. Like, he's meant to look hot and sexy, but he does it in this way where it's almost like refined, reserved. I don't know how to put it. Like, he's really hot and he's clearly meant for some sort of like he's meant to be as attractive as possible. Like, I'm sorry, unbelievably gorgeous in the face department. Like, the jaw, the chiseled feet, like, he is unbelievably gorgeous. But he's clearly meant to be attractive and hot, etc., but not in a way that's like demeaning or what's the word? Objective. It's not meant to like objectify him. That's the word I was looking for. Like, they've made him hot, attractive, etc., but almost in a way that feels respectful to him, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain. Like, it feels like he's dressed up to look attractive and hot for himself, not for the looks of other people, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't feel like... A good example is, say, someone like Widowmaker, right? Her original design is quite clearly designed with, say, the male gaze in mind. A skin-tight bodysuit, how do we put it without getting demonetized? A large posterior, shall we put it? A rather large derriere, maybe? Like, a skin-tight bodysuit with the chest showing off. Like, this doesn't... She's meant to be like a secret agent. She's meant to be like an assassin, etc. She doesn't really have much reason to dress like this. And the high heels, etc. Like, this is quite clearly designed with the male gaze in mind. Whereas Lifeweaver's isn't designed, like, he's very clearly meant to be attractive, sexy, etc., with his chest showing, his unbelievably gorgeous facial features, etc. But it's not designed in a way where it objectifies him, which is interesting to me. And outside of that, I just love his robotic arm. This is, for those that wonder, I know he has a voice line where he says, like, oh, they'll do whatever they can to get my hands, or like he makes a joke about the prosthetic arm, right? This is a thing that is required by all members of Vishkar. Anyone that joins into Vishkar's academy has to go under a mandatory process to replace their arm with a prosthetic to allow them to manipulate hard light. So this segment here, this kind of, what would you call this, bronze? Like a bronze copper segment is mandatory. He didn't like lose his arm and have it replaced or anything. This is part of Vishkar's kind of process of joining them. But this looks amazing. I love the kind of lotus flower on the end of it. The pink thorn, like his color scheme is just gorgeous. White, kind of, what would you call it? Bronze, copper, and pink, pink, white, and copper. That color scheme is gorgeous. I think it perfectly works on him. I love the pink in comparison to the kind of goldy copper look, and the lotus flower is all over his design. Most evident through his most prominent feature, these back petals. These are such a cool character trait. I love the back petals. They are very clear silhouette definers. Like if you just blocked out all of this, just made this his silhouette, from these leaves alone on his back, like the petals, I'd immediately be able to recognize him. I just think this is a fantastic design kind of piece. I just really love it. I love the lotus flower on his back that spins around and such. It just looks lovely. And even like the flower is gorgeous with this little kind of pearl looking thing in the middle. His design is fantastic. It's absolutely gorgeous. I cannot sing my high praises enough. He's easily one of my favorite like Overwatch 2 designs. And there's kind of like there's a difference between like Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 designs, and his is easily one of my favorites. And my love also does extend into his skin lines, because now this might be a controversial opinion. I do think he has the best skin in the entire game, and that's Harbinger. This skin, oh my god. I need to just sing the highest of high praises for this skin. I love the kind of biblically accurate angel look. I love how kind of disturbing yet comforting they look. Like the idea that they say do not be afraid because they look like that makes complete sense. I love how they look. I'm not a Christian person in any way, shape, or form. I guess I'm an atheist per se. I don't really believe in any religion. But biblically accurate angels look so damn cool. And taking Lifeweaver's petals and turning them into wings with these twitching, moving eyeballs that blink, and the extra eyes along the side, and the little flower in the middle also being an eyeball. Whoa! This is such a good skin! And his eyes themselves being covered by the wings. I cannot express my love for this skin enough. It infuriates me that I do not own this. I did not like Season 9. I didn't want to buy the 35 quid bundle. But oh my god, if there's one thing I regret, it's not buying it. Because this skin is easily in my top 3, maybe number 1 skin in the whole game. It takes his already fantastic base design and does something amazing with it. The flower petals on the back are used so interestingly in 90% of his skins. And like, by the way, my praise for the skin doesn't stop there. Like the eyeballs on his actual hand, like that look around and blink and stuff, fantastic. The flower having the eyeball in the middle, the eyeballs on the bottom of the flower, you can't even see these in normal gameplay, but they went through the effort of doing that. Like, this skin is insane. It's absurd how good this skin is. But even beyond that, he has some really other good skins. Like, I believe this is reference or based off of a traditional Thai thing. I would presume so, at least from the way it looks. I do not know anything about it. This was his release skin. It was in the Battle Pass in Season 4. I thought it was a pretty decent enough skin. I'm sure someone who, of course, is more in touch with Thai culture, etc., would probably enjoy it a lot more than me. But I thought it was a pretty good skin to begin with. His original release skins were certainly a choice. I don't know really what they were going for with these. It kind of looks like a court judge with the wig and stuff. I don't know why they chose this out for him. Maybe to represent what he may have looked like if he'd followed his parents' like rigid path for him, maybe. I don't know. It's a okay skin. Black Swan is horrific. I get the idea, but I don't know. Something about seeing Lifeweaver and like these leggings, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't really like the skin all too much. But from here, it's straight upwards. Cleric is gorgeous. By the way, though, I do have to mention, like, again, neat use of the petals, turning them into the Black Swan's, like, feathers, wings, etc. Really neat use of them. Cleric is unbelievably gorgeous. Like, look at him. He's actually ethereal. Like, I think he is, like, he's in the top 3 prettiest men in Overwatch by, like, a country mile. He's probably won by a country mile. It's not hard. I'm not usually, like, when it comes to the characters I end up attracted to, they're usually, like, you know, kind of, what would you call it, unconventionally attractive. Like, Junker Queen is tall and muscular. I find her the hottest woman in this game. Like, she is, like, 1 or 2 for me. But, like, Lifeweaver is, by account, conventionally attractive. What is the definition of conventionally attractive, actually? I throw that around a lot, but I don't actually really know what it means. I kind of just, you get the idea. You get what I'm trying to say. He's meant to be attractive, and I find him very attractive. I bought this skin. Do I need to say any more? Like, this, again, really cool use of the wings, turning them into like little surfboards with the water ripples being the wings themselves. Like, it's a really cool look. And of course, the sex appeal is quite clear. He's meant to look really damn attractive, and he definitely does. I bought this skin for a reason. Demon Rocker, again, is also very good looking. Fox, he did get a thingy, Yusuke from Persona 5. I'm not sure how I feel about this choice. Personally, I would have given it to Genji, but I do see what they were going for in the idea that both of them are artists in their own ideas. Like, Yusuke from Persona 5 is literally an artist, whereas Lifeweaver, of course, is an artist with the usage of biolight and hard-light construction, etc. Cool idea. I don't know why this skin exists, really. We already had Lifeguarder. I don't think we needed this poolside skin, gonna be so honest. This is a choice. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I already sung my high praises for Harbinger. Eros is also a really lovely skin. I like the love heart replacing the petal at the back. I think this is a fine enough skin, like the idea. Royal Butler really reminds me of Chamber from Valorant. I do love that the macrons are in the wings, though. I think this is a fantastic idea. And the teacup in the middle being there, unbelievably smart. Like, even like the little flower being like a sort of, I don't know what this is. It's a strawberry related thing of some kind. You know, I'm fat as shit. How do I not know what food is? Anyways, really good skin, and this skin is fine. Whatever. Now, I will mention, of course, I criticized Kiriko a lot for it. Lifeweaver has, as of late, been receiving a lot of skins. I mean, just in the last, how many seasons? 3? He received Demon Rocker, Fox, Poolside, Vampire Regent, as well as Royal Butler and Sakura. That's a lot of skins. I don't know why he's received this many skins. I didn't actually really think he was that popular. I do think that maybe, I mean, the thing is, right, he's not getting like 2 skins a season outside of like last season where he got Fox and Poolside. But, well, no, actually, he received 3 legendaries that season with this recolor. Yeah, he's actually been receiving a lot of skins lately. And I do, of course, have to criticize that, but I am going to be a little bit less harsh because I actually like Lifeweaver. What I am going to be harsh on, though, is his mythic, because he received this season, and this is part of a new design philosophy that they mentioned in the dev blog before season 19 came out. A lot of people, myself included, did not really like how they were distributing mythics as of late. So, for example, a good example to me is Widowmaker. How you would literally not have a mythic. This is not a mythic skin, right? This is not a mythic. This is literally just a base legendary with some fancy special effects. This is really bad. I do not like, I don't like how this is laid out, where you would like work towards the mythic skin. Like, only at level 4 do you actually have like the full mythic. I did not like that whatsoever. So I'm glad that they addressed that fact and decided to change it. However, they didn't really change it. Like, at level 1, you do get the mythic. You get the special effects, the sound effects, blah, blah, blah. But you still have to work towards level 4 to get the ability effects, which is the entire point of a mythic skin, in that it changes the visual effects of your abilities. And at level 4, you also get the skin effects. Like, what level do you... Yeah, you get the ability effects at level 4, right? So, I don't understand what they didn't really change it, right? Like, sure, mythic, like, actually looks-wise, yeah, this is a mythic skin, like, quite quickly. It kind of changed... I don't know, the thing is, right, Lifeweaver's mythic isn't very good because it doesn't really do anything interesting with him. He already has many skins, as I just went over, where he looks really pretty, really attractive. Like Cleric has a life-based thingy to it, and turning him into a divine druid, I get the idea. Those are, you know, plant-based healers, makes sense. But it just kind of looks fine. It doesn't really look like a mythic, really. Like, this could have been a legendary, really. It only becomes a mythic at level 4, where you get the special visual effects and such. But again, that defeats the whole point of what they said they were changing. Like, people like myself didn't like how these mythics were before, where they're not really a mythic until you get to level 4. And they said they were changing that, but it's still the same thing. You're not getting ability visual effects till level 4, as well as skin visual effects till level 4. So you don't really get a mythic till level 4. So why did we change it? I don't understand it. I mean, I guess it's kind of better, Like, it's better than like Juno, where at level 1 you had this. Like, this isn't a mythic. This is a legendary, right? This is not a mythic. Only at level 4 does it actually become a mythic with like the special effects, the glitter, the glowing effects, blah blah blah. But this isn't like at level 1. This isn't really a mythic either. This doesn't have any visual effects. It just doesn't have the customization. I know you can customize the back. Like, I get the idea, right? You customize the wings. That makes sense. But, hey, are we ever going to go back to, like, you know, like, these? Are we ever going to go back to stuff like this? Where we have the base skin and then we can customize the weapons, or the hat, or the shoulder pads, and the colors? Like, are we ever going to go back to that? Or are we just going to be stuck with, hey, pay for the visual effects and the special effects, and then get the colors and backs as you go up? Like, I don't know, it just feels kind of weird. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. And admittedly, I don't particularly like the Divine Druid. I still got it because, as you can see in the corner, I've been hoarding my mythic prisms because just nothing has interested me. I'm gonna be so damn real. Like, Kiriko mythic weapon, I ain't buying that. I'm not, like, last season, I ended up buying Cass's mythic weapon because I just needed to buy something. I don't want Zenyatta's mythic for now. I don't want Widow's mythic because I don't play her. I don't like Mercy. I don't want to buy Mercy's mythic. Hanzo's mythic is terrible. Like Kiriko's mythic, you already know how I feel about her. I don't want that. I got enough skins anyways. Reinhardt, don't need a skin for him. Don't want the mythic either. I always thought the Thor skin was really disappointing. I'll get into that when I eventually get into that. Like, I don't know, I just needed to buy something. I like Lifeweaver. Might as well just have the mythic for him just so I have it, right? But I don't particularly like it. Most of my time recently has been me using like Fox because I like Persona 5. I know. It's kind of odd. And if this is how they're going forward with mythics, I'm not really sure if I want Ram to get a mythic anytime soon. Like, I'm sure, as you can probably guess, Ram is like my go-to. I want Ram to get a mythic ASAP, but if they're going to treat him like this, maybe we can hold off on him till we actually start getting like customizations. But yeah, with all of that said, done, dusted, etc, etc, this is now the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined, or if you did enjoy the rest of, or the entire video, you get the idea. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, whether there be a good morning, afternoon, evening, etc. Lifeweaver as a character, I think, is quite interesting on the majority of fronts. Again, as I said in his story segment, I don't really like him personally that much story-wise, but I do think he opens the door to a lot of interesting stuff, and I can't thank him enough for adding more stuff to Symmetra, who I like a lot. Gameplay-wise, again, I have a lot of qualms with him, and design-wise, I think he's damn near perfect. But with all of that said, hope you have a lovely rest of your day, blah blah blah, and the next video in this series will be on none other than everyone's favourite Brazilian musician, Lucio.